the recent hemp bill or THC marijuana type situation that the government just did, they just voted to make certain hemp products, certain THC products illegal within like a year. They're going to be federally outlawed. It's like it can only be like 0.4% per drink, per THC drink. THC gummies at 0.4%. I've used marijuana. 20 years ago, I was using marijuana. You're not even going to feel 0.4. If you drink a THC drink that's 0.4, you're barely going to feel it. You're not going to feel the medication. Most people use this stuff for medication purposes. And at 0.4 milligrams, you're really not going to feel much of that candy or drink or whatever it is. Like I said, most people use marijuana products, because of pain. Like I've seen so many comments about people saying they use marijuana because it helps their pain. And basically what us Americans are worried about is we're worried that Mitch McConnell has been paid off by the whiskey companies down south, by the alcohol companies. And the majority of American citizens, the sober ones at least, like I don't drink alcohol, I would rather them ban alcohol outright, because that's what's killing, young people in car accidents, prom night. They always lose a kid or so, in each state from prom night. Caused by what? Alcohol. Never heard one death from marijuana. Yes, there has been car crashes, but that's why you don't smoke a bunch of pot and get behind the wheel. That's why you don't drink a bunch of THC drinks and go behind the wheel. These adults that use these marijuana products for medication purposes are being responsible with it. And finally, democracy in America is supposed to include every American's voice. The American people are electing these representatives, these senators, these congressmen. We're electing them into office, and they're supposed to represent the American people. They're supposed to let us have a voice in our country, our voice in each state. That's what democracy is. It's allowing the people to be part of the process. And I feel like this recent hemp marijuana bill is going completely against democracy and completely against the people, because I think if you voted on this state to state, most people would say, of course, if somebody needs medical marijuana for their pain, people like me would much rather have a guy at his house using marijuana products versus using opiate medications. Like, for example, I've lost 2 friends from opiate medications. Lost a really good friend named Caleb. He died of a drug overdose. Lost another really good friend that I worked with for like 3 years. We were chefs together at a restaurant. His name was Levi. Died of a heroin overdose. So I've lost 2 friends, and that's why people shy away from oxy pills and pain pills, because they don't want to become addicted. Some of these are former drug addicts. Some of these are former heroin addicts. They don't want to be pushed to use opiate medications. And it's not their fault. For example, one of my family members was in a head-on collision. She's in pain, severe pain. She should be able to use marijuana products, but she doesn't because she's worried about how the government's going to feel about that. So she doesn't even use it because of paranoia, pretty much. But my point is, guys, there's so much positive to marijuana. For example, people that have post-traumatic stress disorder, even people home from war, soldiers home from war, can smoke marijuana at their house, which is going to calm them down. These THC products will stop that fight or flight feeling. Basically, like if you walk up on somebody with PTSD and you're going to get that jump reflex. And with marijuana, what it does is it will stop that jump reflex, that PTSD reflex will be stopped by the marijuana medication. That's why it's so good for PTSD, because it keeps you off edge. It keeps you from being severely paranoid. It keeps you from other things, and as far as pain medication is concerned, it's very good for pain management. It's a good antidepressant. If you're having a suicidal day, if you're having a depressed day, you could smoke a joint at your house. Let's say you have the day off. Maybe that will prevent you from committing suicide for real. You could literally go outside, smoke a joint if you're upset instead of killing yourself. Marijuana does prevent suicide. You could be having the shittiest day in the world. I swear to God, you pop some gummies, some THC gummies. It's going to lift your spirits. I do not recommend getting behind the wheel when you're under the influence of marijuana. If you're under the influence of these, these strong tinctures and stuff, you're asking for it. If you're driving around stoned, you're asking for it. Keep in mind that all responsible Americans, we want to drive sober, guys. We don't want to be smoking marijuana, getting behind the wheel, doing all kinds of edibles, getting behind the wheel, because you're asking for trouble, guys. But as far as like for example, the senator's argument was, their argument was that they wanted to stop the sale from gas stations and whatnot, and that allegedly some young person got their hands on it. First of all, I don't believe that, because all these clerks are carding everybody. And let's be honest, real medical patients that are real medical patients, they don't buy stuff from these gas stations. No real marijuana enthusiast or medical marijuana patient is going to the gas station. And then the lawmakers are like, well, if they can get these THC drinks from the gas station, they could get intoxicated. But the lawmakers are going to keep alcohol legal. I can go to any gas station and get a 12-pack of beer, get right in my vehicle and start drinking. So their whole argument, it's called a straw man argument, which means they basically don't have any validity in their arguments. It's not a strong argument. Because like I said, they're still allowing the sale of alcohol. Alcohol is by far more dangerous than marijuana. By far. There's been several OUI car crashes where people have been killed. Domestic violence. Domestic violence is oftentimes fueled by alcohol. Domestic violence murders is fueled by alcohol. Aggravated assault, where someone just beat the living shit out of somebody, fueled by alcohol. An officer loses his life, fueled by alcohol. This is all what alcohol can do, guys. Alcohol is the problem. Yet these scumbags outlaw marijuana and hemp. Give me a fucking break. Us citizens need to realize that America is becoming a tyrannical government or tyranny. Because what they did was they slipped this law, this hemp law, this THC law, they slipped it in during the government shutdown. There was no vote from the Washington, D.C. people. The Washington, D.C. people didn't vote on that. The American people didn't vote on that. That's what democracy is supposed to be about. If they want a new law in Washington, D.C., if they want new marijuana laws, if they want new hemp laws, they need to ask the people, what do you guys want? I'm Steve. Steve, what do you want? What's your vote? That's what democracy is. And if these scumbag politicians, people like Mitch McConnell, being a scumbag, slipping these laws in, other politicians, they slip this law in without the vote of the people. That's not democracy. Change my mind. So we need to get back to America where the people are included. No longer do people feel like their votes even matter, because things are so controlled in the government. It feels like our votes don't even matter. But we're definitely not being part of the process. And we can't keep allowing these laws to be made without the vote of the people. This is why life is hell at these corporations. Because they're doing the same shit, slipping in this anti-worker laws without our vote. We're not voting on these laws. They're being paid off by corporations. They're being paid off by whiskey companies, by big pharma or pharmaceutical companies to shut the hemp industry down. Because maybe pain pills are losing money. Or maybe the whiskey industry is losing money because people are using more marijuana products. Well, I got news for you. America is pro-marijuana, especially for medical purposes. We would rather outlaw alcohol, since it's alcohol doing the killing, alcohol doing the maiming, alcohol fueling the domestic violence. Till then, guys, I hope you have a wonderful holiday. Happy Thanksgiving week. You guys can check out my link in the description for a $14.99 Amazon shirt. You can get for mom. You could get for your sister. It's a best-selling butterfly shirt on Amazon, guys. Until next time, guys, stay safe out there. Please leave your comments in the description. I know some of my viewers are anti-marijuana, so they get fired up about that. I'd love to hear your comments, guys, whether you're pro-marijuana, anti-marijuana. Share your thoughts, guys, and tell me what you think about them putting these laws in without our vote. Till next time, Steve signing out.